I woke up on a hospital bed with a 6-inch scar on my back and one of my kidneys gone. And I didn't find out who took it from the doctor. I found out from the FBI. The last thing I remembered was drinking a cup of water in an exam room. My mother had brought me there for what she called a family checkup. A fresh start, she said. I was 34 years old, a trained operating room nurse, and I drank that water like I trusted her. I shouldn't have. When my eyes opened, the pain hit first. Deep. Wrong. My hand reached back and found bandages, thick surgical tape, stitches. I pressed the call button. A nurse appeared, young, wouldn't look at me. What surgery did I have? The doctor will explain everything. I'm an OR nurse. I know what a nephrectomy incision feels like. Tell me what you took. She left. 20 minutes later, a silver-haired surgeon walked in smiling, Dr. Howard Mercer. He sat down and told me the procedure went beautifully. My kidney was already inside my brother 2 floors down. I should be proud. I asked him who consented. He pulled out a form. The line marked patient signature blank. The line marked guardian or legal representative had my mother's signature on it. I said, I'm 34. I don't have a guardian. His face changed then, just for a second. Look, if you're the kind of person who sticks with the story once it grabs you, hit that subscribe button on Anonymous Confessions. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Now, let me take you back to where this really started. 2 months before I woke up missing a kidney, my brother Marcus was diagnosed with end-stage renal failure. Both kidneys dead. Cause? 15 years of heavy drinking that my parents always called blowing off steam. The golden child could do no wrong. I drove 3 hours to the hospital at 2 a.m. when my mother called crying. When I walked into Marcus's room, he looked gray, shrunken. Tubes connected him to a dialysis machine. My father stood at the foot of the bed. The doctors say he needs a transplant within 3 months, or he won't make it. 3 months. The transplant list averages 5 to 7 years. My mother clutched her rosary beads. Then she looked at me, then at Marcus, then back at me. Something cold moved through my chest. That look wasn't worry. It was measurement. Here's something you need to understand about my family. My father believed the world made sense as long as everyone knew their place. Men provide, women support, sons carry the name forward. My mother's whole identity was being Gerald's wife and Marcus's mother. Notice I didn't say and Thea's mother. I was always the afterthought. Marcus is 38, charming when he needs something. 15 years, 6 jobs, none lasted longer than 2 years. Every failure came with an excuse, and every time, my parents caught him. Me? I put myself through nursing school, worked double shifts, saved every penny until I bought my own 1-bedroom apartment in Philadelphia. Nothing fancy, just mine. Last Thanksgiving, I came home with news about my promotion to OR nurse supervisor. I was proud. For once, I thought they might be too. My father looked up from his plate and asked, "Is Marcus coming this year?" That was it. That was my celebration. One other thing you should know about me. I'm the only person in my family with O-negative blood, universal donor. My mother mentioned it once when I was 17. Good thing we have Thea, she said. She can give blood to anyone. I didn't think much of it then. I should have. A week after Marcus's diagnosis, my mother invited me to dinner, a family meeting, she called it. Same oak dining table, same portrait of Marcus's football championship above the fireplace. No portrait of me anywhere. We sat down. My father cleared his throat. The transplant list is long. Most people don't make it. My mother dabbed her eyes. If only someone in the family was compatible. I kept eating. I wanted to see how far they'd take it. Thea, my father said, finally meeting my eyes. You're O-negative, universal donor. That's rare, special. The first time he'd ever called me that. We're not asking, we're just thinking out loud. Marcus stayed silent the whole dinner.
When I stood to clear dishes, I caught a glimpse of his phone, a text to my father, "She's thinking about it." I wasn't thinking about it. A few days later, I asked to meet them alone. I've thought about it, and the answer is no. The silence was physical, heavy. "No?" my mother crumpled. "What do you mean, no?" "I mean I'm not donating my kidney to Marcus." My father's jaw tightened. "And why the hell not?" "Because I need both my kidneys for my own long-term health, because donation has real risks, and because Marcus's condition is the result of choices he made, choices everyone in this family enabled for 15 years. You'd let your brother die?" My father slammed his palm against the armrest. "Your own blood?" My mother was crying now. "I raised you, Thea. I fed you, clothed you, and this is how you repay me?" I stood up. "My body isn't a repayment plan." I walked out. As I pulled onto the highway, my phone buzzed. A text from a number I didn't know. "You'll regret this." The weeks that followed were quiet in a way that should have been a warning. First, I was removed from the family group chat. Then, a coworker stopped me in the hallway. "Did you know someone called the hospital asking about you, about your mental health?" I went to HR. Someone claimed I had mental health concerns affecting job performance. Anonymous caller. That weekend, I visited my mother. She was at the kitchen table with her laptop open. When she saw me, she slammed it shut. "Just checking emails." Too quick, but I'd seen the subject line. Plan B timeline. "What's Plan B?" She laughed, nervous. "Nothing, work stuff." My mother didn't work. I should have pushed harder. That was my mistake. Here's what I learned later from FBI testimony. 3 days after I refused to donate, my father met Dr. Howard Mercer at a country club. They'd golfed for 20 years. My father explained the situation. "My daughter has some mental health issues. Nothing severe, but enough that she can't make major medical decisions. The family has informal guardianship." Mercer raised the concern. Living organ donation requires an independent donor advocate, psychological evaluations, ethics reviews, multiple consent conversations. My father had anticipated this. Riverside Medical Center was a private surgical center, not a major hospital. Mercer handled the transplant program personally. He could streamline things, skip them entirely. My father asked what it would take. Mercer named his price. $50,000 to his foundation. They shook hands. My father wrote a check. The date was set. The plan was simple. Lure me to a different hospital, sedate me before I could ask questions, perform the surgery. By the time I woke up, it would be done. "She's a daughter," my father reportedly said. "She's not married, no kids. What does she need 2 kidneys for?" 2 weeks after I refused to donate, my mother called me. She was crying, but soft now, gentle. "I've been thinking a lot about how things ended between us. It wasn't right. My father and I want to make things right. We scheduled a family checkup at a clinic outside the city, a fresh start." Something felt off, but 3 weeks of silence had worn me down. A part of me still wanted to believe. Just a checkup? "Just a checkup, please, Thea." I said yes. The day of the appointment, I drove to Riverside Medical Center. Marble floors, fresh flowers, the kind of place where wealthy people went for procedures they didn't want on their regular medical records. My mother met me in the parking lot wearing a cashmere cardigan I'd never seen before. "A little gift," she said, pressing a matching one into my hands. We walked in together. I signed in. The nurse called only my name, Reynolds, Thea Reynolds. I looked around. My father wasn't there. Neither was Marcus. "They're running late," my mother said. "Go ahead, they'll catch up." I followed the nurse down a long corridor. I didn't see my father standing outside the window watching me disappear. The exam room was cold, not air conditioning cold, something deeper. A nurse handed me a paper gown and a cup of water. "Change into this, drink this first, it helps with the draw." I looked at the cup. Something flickered in the back of my mind. I'm an OR nurse. Something felt off. But the nurse was smiling. A room was clean. What was I afraid of? That my own family would drug me? The thought seemed absurd, so I drank it. The nurse took 3 vials of blood, then she left. The room started to tilt, just slightly at first, then more. Fluorescent lights pulsed. My hands felt heavy. Something's wrong. I tried to stand. My legs wouldn't cooperate. The water. They put something in the water. I reached for my phone. My fingers couldn't grip it. The door opened. Through the haze, I saw him. My father standing in the hallway. His face was blank. Not angry, not sad, just resolved. He nodded at someone I couldn't see. A doctor stepped into my field of vision. White coat, gray hair.
Don't worry, he said. You won't remember any of this. I tried to scream. My mouth wouldn't move. The last thing I saw was my father turning away. The surgery took 4 hours. Dr. Mercer made a 6-inch incision along my lower left back, separated muscle, carefully excised my healthy, functioning left kidney. In his operating notes, he wrote, "Donor consent obtained via legal guardian due to documented cognitive impairment." None of it was real, but it looked real. While I was on the table, my kidney was rushed to another operating room. Marcus was already prepped, waiting. In the family waiting area, my parents sat together. My father read a newspaper. My mother held her rosary beads, lips moving in prayer. Later, she would tell investigators she was praying for a successful outcome for the whole family. She wasn't praying for my safety. At 6:30 p.m., my parents left the hospital together. They stopped for dinner on the way home, celebrated with wine. Meanwhile, I lay alone in recovery, stitched up and hollowed out. They didn't visit my room that night. They'd gotten what they came for. If you're watching and you've ever felt like your family didn't respect your boundaries, drop a comment below. Tell me where you're from. Now, let me tell you what happened when I finally fought back. After my parents left, I lay in the dark for a long time. I thought about letting it go. Then I picked up my phone. I dialed 911. I need to report an assault. I was brought to Riverside Medical Center under false pretenses. I was sedated without my consent. While I was unconscious, a surgeon removed my kidney. 2 hours later, a woman in a dark blazer walked into my room. Detective Vivian Carter, FBI. She sat down and pulled out a notebook. "Ms. Reynolds, do you know where your kidney went?" "Yes, it's inside my brother, room 412, 2 floors down." She wrote something. Then she looked up. "Tell me everything." So I did. The diagnosis, the family dinner, my refusal, the anonymous call to my HR, the family checkup that was a trap, the email I'd glimpsed, Plan B timeline. Detective Carter's pen stopped moving. "We can get a warrant for email records." The counterattack came within 24 hours. I received a certified letter. Inside was my father's official statement. My daughter, Thea, has a history of mental instability. As her parents, we have informally acted as her guardians for years. Attached were documents I'd never seen, a letter of concern sent to my employer, notes from a therapist I'd never met. That afternoon, my hospital called. "We're placing you on administrative leave pending investigation." They'd gotten to my job before I could defend myself. 3 days later, I went home to an empty apartment. No job, no family, no one who believed me. I sat on my couch and put my hands in my head. For the first time since waking up, I cried. I cried until I couldn't breathe. I almost gave up that night. Then my phone buzzed, a text from a number I didn't recognize. "Thea, it's Nathan Cole from OR. I saw your file.
something doesn't add up. Can we talk? I met Nathan at a coffee shop. He had a laptop open. Look at the timeline. You were administered a sedative at 10:47 a.m. The consent form is timestamped 10:32 a.m. You were drugged 15 minutes before anyone claims consent was obtained. My hands started shaking. He pulled out a USB drive. I made copies. Everything. This isn't just malpractice. This is evidence of conspiracy. 2 days later, Detective Carter called. We got the warrant. You need to come see this. At the FBI field office, printed emails were spread across the table. Plan B, Carter said. Your father sent this 2 days after you refused to donate. I picked it up. Linda, I talked to Mercer. He says if we can document Thea as mentally incompetent, we can sign as guardians. There were more. Make the appointment at Mercer's hospital. Tell her it's a family checkup. The fee is $50,000 to his foundation. And the one that hit me hardest, an email from Marcus. Thanks, Dad. This is the only way. She owes us anyway. She owes us. 28 years of being overlooked, and in my brother's mind, I still owed them. These emails establish premeditation, conspiracy, assault, medical fraud, forgery. We have enough for a grand jury. The arrests are already done. 1 month later, I stood in a federal courtroom. At the defense table sat my family. My father, ramrod straight, jaw clenched. My mother dabbing at her eyes. Marcus, pale, thinner, staring at the table. The kidney inside him, my kidney, was keeping him alive. I took the stand. I walked through every detail. The courtroom was silent. When I finished, the prosecutor asked, "When you discovered your mother had signed as your guardian, what did you think?" I looked at my parents. I thought, for the first time in my life, I saw them clearly. I finally understood what I was to them. Not a daughter, not a person, just parts, spare parts for the child that mattered. The defense attorney approached. He tried to paint me as unstable. Then, from the defense table, a voice thundered, "She owes us." My father was on his feet, face purple with rage. I fed her, clothed her. She's a daughter. Daughters sacrifice. That's how it's always been. The bailiffs forced him back down, but he'd said out loud what they'd always believed. The emails were entered into evidence. The verdict came down. Guilty. All counts, all defendants. At sentencing, the judge spoke. Gerald Reynolds, 15 years. Linda Reynolds, 8 years. Marcus Reynolds, 10 years. Dr. Howard Mercer, 12 years. License revoked. Guards led them away. One by one, they disappeared through a side door. I sat until the courtroom emptied. Then I walked outside and felt the sun on my face. It was over. 1 year later, my apartment has more windows now. Plants line the windowsills. A gray cat sleeps in the sunbeam. I'm charge nurse now. The promotion came through 6 months after the trial. Once a month, I attend a support group for survivors of family abuse. We drink bad coffee and share stories that would break most people. They don't break us. The scar on my back has faded to a thin silver line. The restraining order against my parents and Marcus is permanent. I don't miss them. That surprised me at first, but you can't lose something you never had. What I had was a role in their story, the spare daughter, the backup plan. Now I have my own story, and it's mine. I'm sitting in my favorite coffee shop as I tell you this, sunlight through the windows. If this story touched you, hit that like button, subscribe to Anonymous Confessions for more, and please drop a comment. Tell me your story. Here's what I've learned. Blood relation doesn't give anyone ownership of your body. Being family doesn't mean being entitled to pieces of you. The people who love you don't drug you and cut you open. They don't spend a decade thinking of you as spare parts. And if they treat you like that, you are allowed to walk away. You don't owe them anything. 3 things I want to leave you with. First, no is a complete sentence. Second, document everything. Paper trails save lives. Third, real love respects your boundaries. Anything else isn't love, it's ownership. That's my story. If it helped you, hit that like button, subscribe to Anonymous Confessions for more, and please drop a comment, tell me your story. So that's what happened. The end.